My name is Taryne Mingo. I'm a elementary school counselor in a very rural elementary school. I'm also a third-year doctoral student at the University of Georgia, and I've got a big passion for my rural students, especially when it comes to busing issues. What I'm finding is we have a lot of students, particularly in the rural area where transportation is very limited, are having to get up hours early in the morning to get on buses that have to go maybe 30, 40 miles to get to schools. And then even then, with funding being low for rural areas, they're having to be crowded on these buses for long periods of time, sometimes up to an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And again, I'm with elementary students, and so these students tend to be on buses for 45 minutes to an hour, getting up at around 6 a.m. in the morning, riding on these crowded buses. There's oftentimes 3 to a seat because there's very minimal busing that is available, and having to come to school this way. As you could probably imagine, if you had to be on a bus, you had to get up early, be on a bus, there's two other people in the seat with you for an hour, and you're coming to school, your brain's just kind of rattled, and you only have one adult on the seat. Well, my passion comes in is I feel like a lot of our lower income students are almost kind of have no option but to be transported in this way. Our students who are a little bit higher income, or who have 2-parent families, or have families who can afford a vehicle, or have the time or the jobs that can get their child to school, have a much easier transition into school. So our car rider students, they have that time with their parents. They can eat food at home, ride in the car with their parents on the way to school, have discussions or whatever, listen to soft music, and then they come into the building. They're a little bit more at ease. They're not rushing to class. They've already eaten, and their day starts out a lot better. What I'm seeing and observing from my students who are getting off the bus, they're already really hyped up and just, excitable, and it's harder for them to transition into the school day, especially given that many of them haven't had breakfast yet. And so if their bus is late, they're having to run to the cafeteria, eat their lunch really fast, and hopefully get to school on time. And I'm talking elementary. So this is going to be your maybe they're about 5 to 11-year-old students. And so I'm just seeing a discrepancy. I'm looking now in the data to kind of see what their academics look like, what it looks like socially coming into the classroom, how many behavior reports are being reported by classroom teachers for those students who are getting off the bus versus those who aren't, who are coming in through car rider, to kind of see if there's some kind of intervention I can do as a school counselor to support those students so that because their parents don't have the luxury of a vehicle to give them an easier transport to school, that maybe there's something that we can do so they can. I'm almost looking at kind of like a mindfulness training to support them in that way so that they can get in a better position to, begin school, even though they've been on this very hectic ride. Another piece is just busing in general, is that getting more buses for our students who are having to take a longer ride so that they're not 3 to a seat. As you can imagine, you probably have a higher incidence of bullying. In fact, most of our bullying reports come from bus issues, which is almost a no-brainer. If we have very minimal buses, they're 3 to a seat, they're up 6 a.m., which means they had to get up at like 5, little kids, to get to school. That would be frustrating for me as an adult, so I can only imagine what they're experiencing. So this is where my passion is, for my rural students who have very minimal resources and then are exposed, almost I would say exploited, because they have no other option, my lower income students, to ride the buses where there's minimal funding, and it's just not a great experience for them. So I just want them to have the same opportunities as our students who have the funding to be transported to school and may have an easier transition than they do to enter or begin their school day.